hold, the bitcoinhold.com. The Bitcoin self-custody is the whole. Find the strength inside your soul. Your the bitcoinhold.com.
Imagine walking out to your physical mailbox right now. You open it up, and sitting right there on top of the usual junk mail is this highly official-looking letter.
Right, something that instantly grabs your attention.
Exactly. And it has the logo of the company that made your Bitcoin hardware wallet. You open it, and the letter warns you, in this very urgent, serious language, that your life savings are currently at risk from a new quantum computing threat.
Which is just a terrifying thing to read over your morning coffee.
It really is. And they tell you that you need to immediately upgrade your device's firmware using the enclosed instructions. Would your heart rate spike? Would you panic?
Most people absolutely would.
Because this week, that exact terrifying scenario happened in real life to hundreds of Bitcoiners right in their own homes.
Yeah, it is really the ultimate collision of digital assets and physical vulnerability. The attack vectors are moving out of cyberspace and directly to your front door.
Welcome to this week's Deep Dive, where we separate the signal from the noise in Bitcoin and self-custody. Our mission today is to equip you with the first principles reasoning you need to stay sharp in your self-custody craft.
And we really need it this week.
We do. Because the sheer volume of infrastructure developments this week is just staggering. We are looking at massive sovereignty upgrades to the tools you use to manage your keys, that terrifying physical mail scam targeting hardware wallet users, and, a profound philosophical shift in how we must think about hardware security in the age of AI agents.
There is just a massive amount of nuance to dissect here. We are seeing incredible technical leaps that push self-custody closer to true independence, but, as the software gets stronger, attackers are forced to adapt.
Right, they find other ways in.
Exactly. If you are holding your own keys, the landscape of what you need to defend against fundamentally changed this week.
Okay, let's unpack this from the ground up. We have to start with the software that actually manages your keys.
The foundational layer.
Right. So Wasabi Wallet just released version 2.8.ear, and they achieved a major milestone here, which is bypassing centralized servers entirely for block filters.
Yeah, that is a massive update.
They're now using Bitcoin's peer-to-peer network to download what they call compact filters directly. But let's pause right there, because if I am a listener hearing compact block filters, I might just hear technical alphabet soup.
That is a very fair point. Let's strip away the jargon. Think of the Bitcoin blockchain as this massive public library containing every transaction ever made.
Okay, I'm with you.
When you open your wallet software, your wallet needs to figure out which of those transactions belong to you. In the early days, lightweight wallets would basically just hand their list of addresses to a centralized server and say, hey, tell me if you see any money for me.
Which is terrible for privacy, because now that central server knows exactly who you are and, how much Bitcoin you own.
Precisely. So developers invented block filters. Instead of you handing over your addresses, a server creates a compressed index or a filter of every block. Like a cheat sheet.
Yeah, exactly like a cheat sheet. Your wallet downloads this index and checks it locally. If it finds a match, it goes and gets the full block. Wasabi actually pioneered the use of these compact block filters for private wallet synchronization years ago.
Right, they've been doing this for a while.
They have. But historically, providing those indexes required Wasabi to run a custom backend and, host a server.
So even though the privacy was better, it still relied on a centralized choke point. It was a single point of failure.
Exactly. But over the years, the broader Bitcoin developer community created standardized Bitcoin improvement proposals, or BIPs.
Which are essentially agreed upon technical blueprints, right?
Right. And thanks to these BIPs, support for serving these filters was built directly into standard Bitcoin node software. So with this new 2.8.0 update, Wasabi doesn't need its own server anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it fetches those filters straight from the decentralized peer-to-peer network. So mechanically, as long as the Bitcoin network itself is running, your wallet can privately sync. You aren't relying on a company's AWS server staying online.
Right. It eliminates the middleman entirely. It's really a massive sovereignty upgrade that pushes us closer to true, uncensorable self-custody.
And it's not just the backend sync that got an upgrade in this release either. Wasabi also brought in the ability to pay directly inside a CoinJoin transaction.
Which is super interesting.
It is. Now, for the uninitiated, a CoinJoin is a collaborative transaction where multiple people mix their Bitcoin together to obfuscate the transaction history. But wait, I have to push back here for a second.
Sure.
Doesn't doing a CoinJoin while making a payment just make that specific payment look highly suspicious to the person receiving it?
It's actually the exact opposite if you look at the mechanics of chain analysis.
Really? How so?
Well, normally if you CoinJoin your Bitcoin and then later send a separate payment to a merchant, chain analysis firms look at the change left over from that payment to figure out which wallet belongs to you.
Right. The leftover bits.
Exactly. By doing the payment inside the CoinJoin itself, you do it all at once. The receiver doesn't learn the age of your inputs, and more importantly, they don't learn the size of your change output. Plus, you can batch multiple payments into one transaction.
Okay, I see. So you are breaking the deterministic links right at the moment the value changes hands.
Yes, and it is incredibly efficient for block space.
Speaking of efficiency, we also saw a major release from Foundation this week with their Envoy app, version 2.3.0D beta.
Another really solid update.
Yeah, they redesigned the send flow and introduced something that really caught my eye. It was adjustable QR code density for their Passport hardware devices. Why does QR density matter so much for an air-gapped workflow?
Well, when you are doing an air-gapped transaction, meaning your hardware wallet never physically connects to a computer or phone via a cable, you pass the transaction data back and forth using QR codes and a camera.
Right.
If you are just sending a simple transaction, the QR code is simple. But when you are doing complex flows, like a large CoinJoin or a complex multi-signature transaction, it's not just a tiny string of text. It is a massive cryptographic payload.
Right. The QR code gets so complex it basically looks like a static TV screen, just a wall of tiny pixels.
Exactly. And if the QR code is too dense, your hardware wallet's camera just struggles to read it.
Which is a nightmare for UX.
It is. The user sits there adjusting their phone brightness, trying different angles, getting frustrated. Security fatigue sets in.
Yeah, and that's when mistakes happen.
Exactly. So by allowing the user to adjust the density in the Envoy app, essentially breaking that massive payload into a slideshow of simpler, less dense QR codes, it speeds up that signing process. It keeps air-gap security practical for everyday use.
That makes total sense. Now, Envoy also patched a critical vulnerability in this beta. It was an SCV vulnerability. What exactly is SCV?
SCV stands for Secure Channel Verification. Think of it like a digital bouncer at a club checking an ID.
Okay, I like that analogy.
When the Envoy app talks to the Passport device, they need a secure channel to ensure they are actually talking to each other and not an imposter.
Like a man-in-the-middle attack.
Right. The vulnerability meant that under very specific conditions, an error response from the device could be incorrectly interpreted by the app as a successful verification.
Yikes. That sounds pretty bad.
It is a serious bug, for sure. But Foundation noted it was responsibly disclosed and patched immediately. Which is, frankly, exactly the culture of transparency you want to see from a hardware vendor.
Absolutely. You want them to own it and fix it fast. Now, there is one more feature both Envoy and Wasabi highlighted this week that we really need to dig into, and that is subsat per VByte transaction fees.
This is such a crucial topic.
Both wallets are now fully supporting fee rates below 1 Satoshi per virtual byte. Now, for the listener thinking, I just want my transaction to clear, why do I care about fractional Satoshis? We really need to talk about UTXO management.
This is a fundamental concept that so many people misunderstand. When block space demand drops and the network is quiet, the ability to bid less than 1 Satoshi per byte is crucial.
To put this into perspective, I want to use an analogy inspired by recent insights from the MyNode team. We have to remember that a Bitcoin fee isn't based on the fiat value of the money you send.
Right. It has nothing to do with the dollar amount.
Exactly. It is based on the physical data size of the transaction. So UTXO stands for unspent transaction output. Every time you receive Bitcoin, it creates a new UTXO in your wallet.
Think of them as individual physical bills or coins in a letter wallet.
That's it. It's like paying a $20 tab at a coffee shop. If you pay with a single crisp $20 bill, that is a single UTXO. It is light, it is fast, and the cashier takes it instantly.
Easy.
But what if you pay that same $20 tab entirely in pennies?
You dump 2,000 pennies on the counter.
Right. The cashier has to stop everything, count every single penny, and process all of that physical metal.
It takes up a ton of time and space.
Exactly. In Bitcoin terms, if you have been dollar cost averaging tiny amounts of Bitcoin for years, you have a wallet full of digital pennies. If you try to combine all those small UTXOs into a single transaction, it takes up a massive amount of physical block space.
So the miners charge you a much higher fee to process it, regardless of the fact that it's only $20 worth of Bitcoin.
That is a perfect visualization. And this is why subsat fee capabilities are so critical. If you try to consolidate those pennies into a $20 bill during a high-fee environment, the transaction fee could literally cost more than the value of the Bitcoin itself.
Which is just heartbreaking for users who didn't know better.
It is. So the ability to broadcast consolidation transactions at a fraction of a Satoshi per byte during quiet, low-fee periods is how you perform essential wallet maintenance without bleeding your stack.
It's all about having the right tools for the right environment.
Definitely. And by the way, if you want to see exactly how features like P2P syncing, CoinJoin integrations, and air-gapped QR scanning stack up across all these different applications, you should definitely check out the Software Wallets Comparison resource on thebitcoinhole.com.
It's a great tool.
It really is a great way to cut through the noise and find the exact software that fits your specific self-custody setup.
Finding the right software tool is definitely the foundation. But here is the causal reality we have to face right now. Because developers at Wasabi Foundation and others are making the software layer so robust and decentralized, it is becoming incredibly difficult for criminals to hack you digitally.
The digital fortress is getting too strong.
Exactly. So what do the attackers do? They give up on the software and they go analog. They target the physical world.
Which brings us to that terrifying physical mail scam we talked about in the intro. CoinKite, the makers of the Cold Card hardware wallet, published a report this week about a highly sophisticated snail mail scam targeting their users.
This is a textbook escalation of an affinity scam, and it preys entirely on human psychology.
The scammers are sending physical letters, printed on fake CoinKite letterhead, directly to users' home addresses. The letter tells the user they need to upgrade their firmware immediately for, quote, post-quantum reasons.
Such a classic buzzword tactic.
Right, but here is the big question. CoinKite has a famously strict data retention policy. They delete all customer data, including physical addresses, after 120 days. They don't even use third-party CRM tools.
Which is why this was so shocking at first.
Exactly. So how on earth did the scammers get the physical home addresses of Cold Card users?
Well, CoinKite suspects the data was aggregated from multiple sources of leaks over the years, likely from third-party customs agencies or international shipping companies like DHL or FedEx.
Wow, so it wasn't a CoinKite breach at all, it was the logistics layer.
Exactly, and this connects directly to a broader cybersecurity report published by Proton this week regarding credential stuffing.
Oh right, the password reuse issue.
Yeah, but the underlying principle is identical here. If your data exists on a server somewhere, it will eventually be breached and weaponized. When a logistics company suffers a data leak, criminals scrape those shipping manifests.
Just looking for targets.
Right. They look for the names of companies that manufacture Bitcoin products, cross-reference them, and suddenly they have a targeted physical address list of people they know are holding bearer assets.
And the psychological manipulation here is just so dialed in. They use a physical letter because we are all heavily conditioned to ignore email spam.
Right, email is cheap. Mail costs money.
Exactly. When you hold a physical piece of paper in your hands, it feels official, it feels urgent. And they throw in buzzwords like quantum threat, specifically to induce a panic response.
They want you moving fast and not thinking clearly.
They want you to bypass your critical thinking, go to the malicious URL printed in the letter, download fake firmware, plug your device in, and compromise your own keys.
Which brings us to a non-negotiable mechanical rule of self-custody. You must verify PGP signatures for any firmware update.
Okay, you say verify PGP signatures, but let's be real here. Most average users don't know how that works mechanically. What is a PGP signature actually doing?
Sure, let's break it down. PGP stands for Pretty Good Privacy, and it uses public key cryptography. Think of it like a digital, unforgeable wax seal on an envelope.
Okay, a wax seal.
When CoinKite releases real firmware, they use their deeply guarded private key to stamp a unique mathematical signature on that specific file. Use CoinKite's well-known public key to check the math.
So you're verifying the seal.
Exactly. If even one single line of code in that firmware has been altered by a scammer, the math breaks and the wax seal shatters, it mathematically proves the file came from the real developer and hasn't been tampered with.
So you cannot trust a letter in the mail, and you cannot trust a search engine result. You check the digital wax seal.
Every single time.
But as we saw with Sparrow Wallet this week, you cannot even trust a giant corporate app store logo to protect you.
Oh man, the Sparrow Wallet saga this week perfectly illustrates the illusion of safety provided by walled gardens.
This story is just wild. Craig Raw, the lead developer of Sparrow, almost had his Apple developer account permanently terminated.
Which is insane.
Right. And why? Because he created an unpublished placeholder app on the iOS App Store. Its sole purpose was to act as a warning beacon. He wanted to tell users that Sparrow is a desktop-only application and that the dozen fake Sparrow apps currently on the Apple App Store are malicious imposters.
And Apple's automated systems flagged his warning app for dishonest activity and threatened to terminate his entire developer account.
But wait, hold on. I need to push back on this a bit. Apple is famous for their walled garden. People use iPhones specifically because Apple has armies of security engineers vetting this stuff. Isn't a walled garden still fundamentally safer for the average user than downloading open source code from random corners of the internet?
Well, it is safer if you are downloading a recipe app or, a mobile game. But when it comes to open source cryptographic software, Apple's vetting process is fundamentally misaligned. Apple's algorithm is designed to protect Apple's ecosystem, their revenue cuts, and basic malware signatures. It is not designed to independently verify the cryptographic provenance of a Bitcoin wallet.
So the algorithm just looks for heuristic red flags, doesn't know who the real developer is.
Exactly. Since 2023, more than a dozen fake Sparrow apps have slipped past this legendary, quote-unquote, strict vetting process. The scammers bypass the filters by copying legitimate UI elements or using disposable developer accounts.
Just churning through them.
Yeah. And users have contacted Craig after losing their life savings to these impersonators. Craig holds the actual U.S. trademarks. He publicly warned Apple, and yet he's the one who triggered the automated red flag while the criminal syndicates operate freely.
You literally can't make this up. I mean, after massive community pushback, the App Review Board finally reversed the termination, so Sparrow on macOS is safe for now.
But the deeper problem remains.
It absolutely does. If you rely on a corporate app store as your primary security filter, you are delegating your sovereignty to an automated algorithm that literally cannot tell the difference between the legitimate creator of a wallet and a scammer. You are responsible for your own operational security.
This entire segment really underscores a critical shift. The attacks are becoming automated, sophisticated, and multi-channel. They are attacking the physical supply chain via the mail, and they are exploiting the centralized distribution models of big tech.
Which provides a fascinating transition to our final topic this week. Because as attackers become more sophisticated using automation, Bitcoiners are also beginning to integrate automation, specifically AI agents, into their own economic workflows.
This is such an exciting frontier.
It is, but letting an AI touch your Bitcoin stack requires a fundamental reframing of what a hardware wallet actually does.
This is perhaps the most profound philosophical shift we've seen in the space recently. Zach Herbert from Foundation published a brilliant first principles framework this week. His core argument is basically this. The missing AI layer is not security. It is authority.
Let's explore the mechanics of that, because right now, the entire tech industry is obsessed with making AI secure. They want to put it in sandboxes, build guardrails, and defend against prompt injection.
Yes, but Zach points out a deeper structural issue. AI agents are not just chatbots anymore. They're now acting as actual computer users.
Right.
They are browsing websites, writing code, calling APIs, and handling credentials. They are operating across software originally designed for human beings. This breaks the oldest assumption in computing, the assumption that the user sitting at the keyboard is a person.
Right, so if an AI agent is acting as the user and trying to move funds, who is actually in charge?
That is the crux of the authority argument. Security asks, is this action technically allowed by the system? Authority asks, who actually approved it? What did they see on their screen? Could the AI agent secretly alter the control panel?
So if an AI agent proposes a high-stakes financial action,
it should absolutely not be the entity that approves its own escalation.
I love this analogy that's been floating around. Think of the AI agent as a hyper-efficient accountant you hired. This accountant can prepare all your checks, audit your invoices, optimize your tax strategy, and fill out all the complex paperwork flawlessly.
They do all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. But the hardware wallet, your physical signing device, is the unforgeable pen you keep in your own pocket. You let the accountant do all the complex math and prep work, but you never, ever give them the pen.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it, and we are seeing this exact architecture being built in real time this week.
Where are we seeing that?
Well, Albi Hub, for instance, is pushing the boundaries of what they call AI agent skills. They are building infrastructure where AI agents can run Lightning node liquidity on autopilot.
So the AI agent can auto-swap funds to cold storage, perform one-click channel rebalancing, and route payments across multiple providers 204/7 without human intervention.
Exactly. That is the accountant doing the math. But to prevent the accountant from running off with the funds or making a fatal error, the authority to actually sign the transaction must remain physically decentralized from the agent's software environment.
Which brings us to Ledger.
Right. This is exactly what Ledger demonstrated this week with their new device management kit, or DMK.
So the Ledger DMK is a toolkit specifically designed to put the hardware device at the center of these automated flows. How does that work mechanically?
Under this model, you can give an AI agent a complex prompt in plain English. The AI transforms that prompt into a proposed transaction, but the agent cannot sign it.
It doesn't have the pen.
Exactly. The agent is forced to pass that proposed transaction over to the Ledger device. The human user then looks at the secure screen on the physical hardware wallet, verifies the destination address and the amount, and physically presses the buttons to clear sign the transaction.
So the software requests authority, the human grants authority, and the hardware enforces authority.
Exactly. The proposal layer is separated from the cryptographic signing layer, and this synthesizes into an incredibly durable takeaway for you, the listener. Hardware wallets are no longer just cold storage vaults where you lock up your coins and bury them in the backyard.
They're evolving.
They are rapidly evolving into human authority hardware. In an internet that is increasingly filled with bots, AI agents, and automated scams, the physical button press on your signing device is becoming the ultimate cryptographic proof of human intent. It proves that a sovereign individual actually authorized the action.
Wow. Human authority hardware. That really pushed the physical mail scam we discussed earlier back into perspective, too.
It really does.
If the scammers can't hack the hardware remotely and they can't mathematically forge the PGP signature, their only option left is to try and trick the human holding the pen into signing something malicious.
The human is always the final attack surface, which is why sovereignty requires constant vigilance and continuous education.
It really does. So to summarize the critical lessons from this week's deep dive, we are seeing incredible, liberating technical leaps. Wasabi's PDP block filters are removing central servers, and Envoy's adjustable QR density is making air-gapped security smoother than ever. Subsat fees are giving you the tools to manage your UTXOs and perform wallet maintenance efficiently.
But simultaneously, we must remain fiercely defensive. As software becomes impenetrable, we are facing highly targeted physical mail scams attempting to socially engineer our firmware.
The analog attacks.
Right. And we are dealing with corporate app store incompetence that allows fake wallets to steal life savings while punishing the very open source developers trying to protect us.
You have to verify everything yourself. Don't trust the physical mail. Don't blindly trust the app store. Verify the PGP signatures.
And as we integrate AI into our economic lives, remember that your hardware wallet is your anchor to reality. It is your proof of human authority.
That brings us to a final provocative thought to leave you with this week. We talked about tools like Albi allowing AI agents to manage Lightning liquidity and route payments autonomously 24/7. The software is getting incredibly smart.
Smarter every day.
So if we play this out, how long until AI agents become the primary economic actors on the Lightning Network? And when machines are paying machines millions of times a second for API access and data, how will our concepts of self-custody and human key management have to adapt to an economy where humans are actually the minority of participants?
It is a profound question. The architecture of the future is being built right now, block by block, and the role of the human operator is fundamentally changing.
Something to mull over as you verify your next transaction. If this deep dive helped you stay sharp in your Bitcoin self-custody journey, please take a moment to rate this show and leave a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other learners find the show and take control of their own sovereignty.
Keep learning, keep verifying.
Because in a digital world of automated agents and clever illusions, you never ever want to hand over the pen. Until next time.
Hold your own keys. Stay sovereign. The Bitcoin Hold, the BitcoinHole.com.